Hello, 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 and assalamu alaikum to our wonderful talk folks. I'm Sarah Mashood, Senior Learning Consultant and Chief Operating Officer at Torque, here to present you with Hold That Thought, where the art of holding on to ideas takes center stage. So we envision this as a series of fortnightly sessions, an inspirational flow of knowledge and insights from our very own Torque Tribe panel. And after every 6 months, we're not just revisiting, we're ascending like a fleet of stairs of wisdom, and that too leads us to a broader perspective. So this episode is all about what our Torque Tribe does, how it contributes, which industries they serve in, and later on, we're going to talk about their expertise in detail. Hold that thought. As we start, please let us know where you're all from, what you do, how's your work coming along. I caught you in the middle of the day, didn't I? Also, please feel free to comment and be part of this dialogue. Ask your friends and colleagues to join in. You don't want to miss it. It's an engaging series of dialogue, 40 minutes each with our Talk Tribe expert. It's not just a conversation, it's an experience that you're going to have with me along with my guest. Meet Furqan, a seasoned professional with 3 decades of industry experience, including 20 years in C-level positions, known for transforming businesses through technology. His journey at IBM started as a salesman, evolving into the role of Chief Commercial Officer. Let that sink in. Furqan's expertise spans soft skills of all sorts. It's just not limited to design thinking, but he's a certified design thinker from MIT. He's a perpetual learner and pioneer in consulting and training. And that's not all. Currently, Furqan is building a community of design thinkers, and he's working as a mentor in residence at the National Incubator in Islamabad, Peshawar, NUST, and STP. Rumor has it, his morning coffee is just a regular cup, but by the time he finishes it, he's already optimized 3 business processes. Introducing to you Furqan Qureshi, aka FQ. Hello, Assalamualaikum, and how do you do, Furqan?
I'm good. Thank you for that huge introduction.
But it's so important, and I loved your profile so much. So tell me, Furqan, how's the day coming along?
I don't know. I just came out of a meeting in a public
Meetings,
sector
meetings.
office.
Yeah. And so while I was going through your profile, I saw that you were an IBA. Tell me, how was your experience, and what were your plans then, and what were your thoughts like at that time?
Okay, the IBU was more like a last choice uh,
Okay.
to do something in life, and very proud to have been there. Very proud to be have been a alum now for a long time now. It's a, it probably changed my personality significantly.
Mm-hmm.
So two institutions that have a lot of influence on my professional life is the IBA, and the
Mm-hmm.
other one is IBM, because I spent 18 years there. So I can't take credit away from either of the two.
Okay. All right. And how was your experience at IBM, and how did you move up the ladder from a salesman to chief commercial officer?
Okay, IBM is, was a great company. Two things you will come to respect a company for. One is how much do they invest in you? So from hard skills to soft skills to name the skill. They would invest in people to make them grow in their jobs, not just to help the company move forward, but actually to grow in the jobs. Number one. Number two, I haven't seen a company more holier than the Pope than IBM is. Three values that I learned from them, which I have cherished with me now. I would not like to part with them, inshallah. Is respect for individual,
So important.
excellence is the way of life, and of course, and right on the top is integrity. So those three, I think, make your life far more effective. You drives you, pumps you up, energizes you. Whether you're down or up, it doesn't matter. But I think overall, it matters. That is what matters.
Of course. And what about your motivation going back to studies and that too from MIT and Strategizer AG? How did you come through? How did you even come to it? What was your intention? What
Okay.
was,
Again,
how?
let me put it this way. I was probably 4 or 6 months in IBM then. And technology would change in those days, once in 18 months.
Uh-huh.
And we had complex products like mainframe in those days. So my boss gave me a poster with a monkey sitting on a WC. The caption saying, "When we know all the answers, change all the questions." So one of the things that came by as a professional in IBM was you had to keep learning because technology, and now technology changes much more rapidly. So that perennial learner
Yes.
bacteria was put in me then.
No. Okay. All right.
So when I came out of a 9 to 5 job, my creative learning more, like driving me crazy. So I looked around the world, what to learn. So I found this very intriguing design. And then I went and enrolled here. When I finished design thinking, I found out this half of innovation, the other half is a business model. So I went into the strategizer part as well. And it's only to discover that within each discipline, you have sub-disciplines that you need to learn before you can do training and consulting in that space. So it goes on now. Even
And
now, there is something new coming in.
oh wow, this is always great, isn't it? So
That is.
maybe a personal question, but who was your guide throughout? Like, did you have like a healthy friend circle, or was it your family who really made it work for you? Because there's always somebody guiding you, telling you, ऐसे नहीं ऐसे ये करें. How about this? आजकल नया ये चल रहा है. So what is your sibling number like? Are you the youngest, the eldest, in the middle that nobody cares for? So.
We are two. One is elder to me. He's 4 years older than me. I'm the younger one. We both are IBM, so he's in a completely different industry. I'm in a completely different industry. Both equally complex in their own nature. Yeah, but if I look back and you ask that question, did I have a mentor? Not really. Did I
Really?
have somebody to guide me in my career at IBM? Yes, there were people who guided me in my career, what to do, what not to do, and so on. But once I left IBM, I flirted around with many jobs in the industry and didn't have a mentor, didn't have a coach, so I had to do it on my own. And I think if you want to give credit to someone for taking over my coaching, mentoring, guidance, whatever you call it, it's the internet.
Ah, all credit to it. Why
See,
not?
yeah. So
Yes.
you learn. I mean, I understand you can't learn to play football and tennis unless you actually play the game. Likewise, you can't be an expert in communication unless you actually communicate. But having done 30 years of professional life, you can correct what you did wrong. You can improvise what you used to do. So your marginal improvements eventually 5 years later become an impact have colossal impact. I
Okay,
mean,
all right.
that's the least I can say.
And so I understand that you didn't get a mentor, but you've been mentoring because you've been a mentor in residence in Islamabad and then NUST, NSTP, and then. So how's that coming along? And
I think I realized that I could mentor because people gave me feedback when I used to come to me for help that mentoring comes naturally to me or whatever the case be. And then I started focusing on learning what mentoring is all about.
yeah.
And when this NIC opened up, it was more a passion for Pakistan, coming from a tech industry that we could grow the youngsters into some entrepreneurs, be very good. So I went there to mentor and ended up writing the entire curriculum for a startup incubation center, the only local Pakistani one.
I know what you did there.
Yeah, and then executed it, applied design thinking to it, to test it, experiment with it. and stabilize it after 3 cohorts. So yeah, that's what drove me there. And but yeah, I do mentor people. I do mentor IBA graduates. I've taught it at CPM for your alma mater for 7 years. So I don't have a problem if somebody calls me. I'm very free, and somebody wants mentoring, I mentor. That's not a problem.
Okay.
It's
All right.
enjoyable. It's a benefit also because with my background, I get reverse mentored also
Mm-hmm.
because the youngsters have different ways, more creative ways. You guys do things much different than we did. Sometimes it feels like saying, "Oh my God, are you going crazy? We used to do it like this." These guys are smart, man. So we learn. Staying in touch with the flow.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So as we're just continuing with the talk, please let us know where my audience is from. Please tell us what you do and also how's work these days, so that I can involve you in the discussion. And if you have any question, any quirky notion, you can just let us know, and we will flash it on the screen. I also do
Yeah,
have a
Hafsa has a question. Hafsa has a question. Let me answer that question. My younger daughter was studying, as an IBS graduate,
okay.
communication design, and she went on to got married, went on to do master in the US, and she was at Drexel doing communication design masters. And I asked her, I said, "What are you doing?" So she shared subjects with me. I said, "What is this?" She says, "It's a very interesting subject. You must explore." And then before design thinking, I actually fell in love with design. And it gelled with me because I like change. I like transformations, if you like. So I like to see things, even if it's a marginal improvement, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
So that's why I
Right.
want to design thinking.
Mm-hmm. So, what is design thinking, Furqan? If you could just shed light, or maybe let's just start
Okay.
with what's design.
Yeah, I would rather talk with design. So if I if I make a statement that design is divine, people get shocked. But if you look at ourselves as human beings, we are all designed by someone. Everything around us is also designed by someone. But when you design something as humans, it's about visualizing something. Your mind goes into objects and pieces and abstraction and so on. So that's where your mind works. And everybody wants to see something in the future, despite the fact we all know we can't predict it and definitely can't control it, but still there's a desire to do that. So design is an abstract imagination of something that you want to do, you want to achieve, you want to go and get it done. Design thinking is the methodology to achieve what you want to achieve from that visualization. I mean, let me give you a simple example. I'm currently trying to establish an alumni platform at the IBA. I'm trying to figure out, so what will the platform do? From a design perspective, I have to think of it as to what problem will it solve? Because human nature, if I ask you a question or I give you a problem, whichever the case be, we tend to come up with solutions first. So when we mentor startups, you ask them, so what problem are you solving? So the first thing they say is, so my product does this. That's the solution. If I ask somebody, why are you doing an MBA? He said, because I want to learn this. Yeah, that's the solution. What problem does it solve? Does it give you a better career path? Or does it give you a better job? Is that your goal? Or is it because everybody's doing it, I'm doing it too? So it's a problem solving technique, methodology, give it any name you like. It's built on the platform of design. So what happens is if you visualize something and there is a problem that you want to solve, So the foundation will be design. The methodology will be design thinking. Okay.
Okay.
So what design thinking does is the first thing it will ask you is what problem are you trying to solve? That's one. Second, who are you trying to solve it for? Third, Simon Sinek's favorite question: why do you want to solve this problem? So what we benchmark that is we don't want to go up and start solving a problem because there is a certain criteria before you that has to be executed to produce something, a product or a service, right? It doesn't end there. So 99% of the time, for whatever reason, our training in school, our training in professionally, whatever, we are tuned to produce outputs. So if you ask somebody, "Khana khaya, we had lunch?" Yes. So what was the outcome? Oh, I had a great meal. I'm happy. Do you want a bite? No, no, I'm full. So if you went to school, what was the outcome? They'll say, I got a degree. If you went to, a movie, what is the outcome? I enjoyed the movie. Now, let's go back. If you went to have food, it filled your stomach. That's the output. What's the outcome? And why is outcome so important? That's the important thing. So the outcome is you eat to keep yourself fit. That's the outcome. You study for a career. That's the outcome. You make a photocopy of a book or an article. That's the output. What you learn is the outcome. If you apply it, you create impact. Outcomes create impact, outputs don't. When you create an impact, you recreate value. That is the crux of design thinking. But to be so good as to solve a problem to create outcomes, you must qualify three things. One, it should be desirable by the people for whom you're making it. That's what and that's human centric
Yeah.
as opposed to user centric.
Yes.
Second, it has to be technically feasible, both for the person solving the problem and the person who will use the solution. Third, it has to be financially viable. I'll give you a classic example.
Yeah. Please
Is
do.
there a species on the planet, humans in particular, who can live without water? The answer is a very flat no. So we all know two pieces of hydrogen and one of oxygen makes water.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of in the air. So I think 15 years ago, NASA went through a research to produce water from the moisture in the air. And they did make it happen. But it was desirable, very much desirable. It wasn't technically feasible and definitely not financially viable. 1 gallon, which is about 4.5 liters of water,
Cost.
costs close to $70,000 or something. You wouldn't buy that, right? But they cracked the case that you can capture water from the moisture.
That was
So an
doable.
Israeli company called WaterGen produces 1 liter of water at less than 1 cent today. Now that's an impact creating outcome. So and they shipped, I think, now they make machines that produce hundreds of thousands of gallons of water from a single plant. Something we could do a lot in Karachi with. So that's an example of how you solve a problem which is both desirable, feasible, and viable. And that makes money as well. Okay. Now, one of the words I mentioned here is design thinking is about creating an impact because that creates value. What is value? Now, thanks to our mobile industry, we had value add a lot. We don't know what value was. So you hear people saying, it is good value addition. Yeah, what's fundamental value? So when you're sitting with a company of friends and you sit with them very often, you close circuit friends. Once in a while, you say, "Yeah, Raj, bahut maza aaya. I thoroughly enjoyed the session today." Now, where does that voice come from? It comes from your heart, not your mind. And what comes from your heart is human centric, not what comes from your mind. That's user centric. So, getting into the heart of people is not a joke. It's not about survey. It's not about Google Sheets. It's actually going, engaging with them, immersing with them, living with them if you have to, and then finding what problem to solve. Okay, I'll give you some examples now. So, in the US, cancer hospital, GE was the company that made the first MRI machine. And the man who made this went across the hospital and found out, he had it's a long story, so I won't go that story, but the 7-year-old kid was so scared, he didn't even want to go into the MRI machine room because it looks like a hole that you're going into and you don't know it's going to come out. So he said, "What's the problem?" So it turned out the kids are scared of this MRI machine. By the way, the old MRI machines literally were like scary. They were not as sophisticated as they are now. So he went and did some research. He asked parents, he asked families, he asked the medical staff, the doctors, the technicians, you name it. Everybody who was a stakeholder in that machine, or that ward, or that hospital. He talked to all of them, interviewed them. And it takes a long time to do, not survey. And he came out and said, what the problem we thought was is not the real problem. So in design thinking, what we do is we have a second step, which is first is do research, which is empathy research. Sometimes you call it design research, but it's about empathy to find out. This is what the gentleman did. He was, by the way, an electromechanical engineer, political, medical. So he went through this behavioral cycle of finding out where is the issue. And it turned out that, what? We need to reframe this problem. Why are the children so scared? It turns out they're not scared. That's not the problem. The problem is children like fun and adventure. If you can make this experience fun and adventure, they will come. So they built a machine, nothing, same machine. They put kind of pictures around it. Somebody made it like a Noah's Ark. Somebody made it like the Jungle Kingdom, the famous Hollywood cartoon. But the classic one was this doctor in a hospital in, I think in Houston somewhere. He went and asked the children, "Which cartoon do you like?" And somebody said Simpsons, somebody said Tom and Jerry, somebody said something. So he said, "Okay." So next day he went back and went in the MRI room, put posters of the cartoons. And on the table he put a Noah's Ark and stickers all around the machine. And when the kid got it, he said, "Oh, wow.
Attractive
This
for
is
him.
better than school."
Yeah.
And the story goes on, and one of the kids, when he was going back, and was a terminal cancer case. So he said, "Mom, hey mom, can I come back again tomorrow?"
Ah. It was
So
that much
that's
fun.
what creates an impact if you're good. So when we say refix problem, the obvious problem is not always the real problem, right? So that's something that people must appreciate, that when we've done empathy research and then we go into design research, which is the same thing, we actually go and live there. I mean, the case in India, and this is classic, India is comparable to us. And this case is absolutely true for Pakistan, probably Bangladesh, probably all South Asia. So there was a place in somewhere in North India which had a problem of very terrible mortality rate for newborns. So the original problem identified was that the water that the mother drinks and the milk that she produces thereafter is the source of the short life of the baby. So 6 students from Stanford Design School, 2 of them being Indians, came to the village, knowing what the problem was, and they lived in the hospital in the maternity ward for 8 weeks.
Hmm.
And guess what they found out? Now, this is observation. So when we say design research, we engage, we immerse with the people that are involved in it, when you also observe a lot. So in the observation, they found out that when the baby needs the milk, she had 2 choices. Go to the incubator room, baby, come back. Or the matron brings the baby to the bed, feeds the baby, and takes the baby back. In both cases, the mother would tip the baby, wrap the baby in her sari, and keep the baby close to her heart. What was the original problem? The milk that was produced, blah, blah, blah. What turned out to be the actual problem? Social problem.
Yeah.
The problem identified was mothers in India, read Pakistan as well. Mothers in the subcontinent like to keep the child close to their heart than in an incubator. So a soft incubator was produced in India, costs less than 6,000 rupees, has oxygen tubes, tube for blood or whatever, excretion, has a heater and air conditioning, cooling element, has a little net on the face for mosquitoes. That's what you call producing something impact. Okay.
Wow.
So, because this was, and of course, we go into the next step is the ideation and prototyping and experimentation. So, the crux of the thing, which is anti or counterintuitive to Pakistanis and probably a lot in the subcontinent, and I mean, it could be for many other countries as well.
Maybe. Yeah,
We don't like experimenting.
that's true.
We like
No research.
the food, khaya piya, laga. We won't want to put our energy in trying, testing, experimenting. So we are more keen to get the final output because we don't worry about outcomes. And that's been my challenge. And that's really been a challenge. The corporate sector is more a challenge. Startup space, they realize that design does matter.
So, how
Design.
does design thinking fit into their worlds then? What are the hurdles that they
Uh,
face?
for startups, it breaks the ice for them because then
Okay.
everything that they do, they instead of running to the market, they talk to the customers. I mean, a lot of our startups are copy paste. Initially, 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was trying to produce a clone WhatsApp, some one better function or feature, or clone what Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, or you have it. So all of them, I mean, they were like hugely inclined towards copy paste. But then later on, some great. And one of my best experiences, I must mention this, was a startup called DevTalk, DEAF, DATAWK, sorry, DevTalk. Today, I'm very proud to say they have offices in Singapore, in Spain, in UK, I think in China now. What they do? But before what they do, the founder is blind, has a double master's. The second founder is can't hear, has a very strong slur in speech, has a double master's. The first one is a business graduate. The third one is legally blind. So he can see me, but he see a blob. He's also a double master. What do they think they do? They help people with impairment with listening or talking learn through and speak sign language. So the goal is to proliferate sign language. That's what they do. And I think they're probably now almost $1 million close to it. So that's the one startup, my first ever startup mentor. I have reached the stage in 4 or 5 years. So they appreciate design and design thinking. They pivoted after having gone through my course. And so they are more adept to change because they're young. They are willing to take the risk for experimenting because they have nothing to lose, if you like. VC funding comes without an interest rate, so it's easy. If you lose it, you lose it. At least, corporate funding doesn't come that way. I mean, it's like banking rates and so on. It's more complex. I mean, honestly, getting money from a CFO as a sales head was a challenge. Getting
I'm
from a
sure.
VC is 1/20 of that challenge. Okay. So that's one fundamental difference between the corporate and the startup sector. And the biggest difference is startups don't have baggage. Corporates do. And their baggage is sometimes very heavy. I mean, so
So,
heavy that
yeah.
they can't even take a truck on.
So clients can be unpredictable, right? So can you share with us a quirky or maybe an unexpected client story and how you handled it?
Well, it's not all hunky dory in that space. I can stand up and say maybe failed in selling that particular deal because it happens to be so abstract by itself. Um, when I look back, when I say, okay, what problem was I trying to solve? Was I trying to help them gain revenue? Was I trying to help them become lean, mean, and tall, or less expensive to produce something? Or was I trying to be cold-blooded and saying what you're doing is old crap, try something new? Well, I tried all three of them, and when I look back, say, what is their problem? Is the lack of willingness to change. So call it comfort zone, call it not such intense competition in the markets they operate. Um, they have the financial power to beat competition locally. So that's one space that I think that challenge came. I'm still at it, haven't given up on it. Interestingly, the SME is more responsive. So tell them, यार क्या copy paste किए जा रहे हो? I mean, can't you get out of this? And they say, क्या करें? Then they come forward. I mean, one SME I tried to work with, they were producing, without mentioning what they were producing, but I said, how do you do this? For the same effort, the same technologies you have, you can produce this and this. So how? I said, try. How? I said, get the raw material, try to produce this. Sell this much in Pakistan and sell that much export. And they did. And they're very successful. So why is it they were adept and they were not adept? Because there's less to lose with the SME. And the thought process on the other side was, we will lose a lot more. No, you don't do that. The principle is exploit what you already have, explore the new. The new is innovation. And the large corporations in this country and many other old legacy, even the US, if you like, they also claim the same thing. The biggest linchpin that drags you or the inertia that keeps you back is the process. You might have heard of Pakistan, mein, we become digital in banking and so on and so forth. They hate me for saying this, never mind. I've said it in a public event also. Creating apps front end. What about the back end? I mean, for all those who are from corporate sector, and I'm a data guy, data is great if you put an app and put it through, blah, 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 right? But on a piece of paper someday, pick up the data and tell me what is the context the data is. If you write 20,500,000 rupees, the context will say revenue. If you write 20 million, 300 million, 300,000, the context will say what? Some kind of expenses. That's the context. Now, data is nothing without the context. Period. Put them together. What does it make? Corporate memory. When I say the word corporate memory, people are like, what are you looking at? Are you crazy? What corporate memory? So I go to the same explanation all the way. Yaar, kya kare? So I went to an institution recently. I did a consulting assignment for transformation. And I said, do you mind asking somebody to tell me how much in your storage is data and how much of you have spent on paper, photocopier, toner, printer, and the toner, and the number of people, and to make it worse, could you please tell me how much time does it take you to search that document from the file? I'm not saying first the paragraph from the file. How do you know? I said, well, global research says an average, this is you and me included, spend about 21% of our time searching for information.
Furqan, just a second, I have to cut you here. A lot of people are joining in, and we're getting messages from all over. I'm also getting a lot of inbox messages on my phone. If you could just divert those on screen here, flash them so that we can see. I'm about to start a lightning round, a rapid fire round, and the answers could be like from 1 word to 3 words. And because we're running out of time, we really need to go through these. And these are some really interesting ones that my team gathered. So we're going to switch gears now. And my first question, and we don't have a timer, so you just have to be quick that way, right? So my first question is, if you weren't in design thinking, what would you be doing?
Good question.
I know.
Something that is transformational.
Can you be a little more specific?
Something that I could create an impact either in my life, in my family's life, or in the society.
Number 2, one thing you wish clients understood better.
Change. The benefits of change.
Great. One word to describe your time at MIT.
Deep learning.
One word that defines a great trainer. This everybody wants to hear, so have it.
A great trainer in one word? Humble.
Yes. If your training style had a superpower, what would it be?
Sorry?
If your training style had a superpower, what would it be? Mind speed.
My my body language, my expression, and I think my experience now comes into play a lot.
The most unexpected lesson. Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, the most unexpected lesson you've learned from a training session.
Oh, this is really remembering bank. So I wasn't aware or conscientious about emotional quotient in those days, now called intelligence. So I was given a huge cardboard sheet with a mind map on it, and I was asked to do. It was a pre-disc era, if you like, or even MBBTI, whatever they call it. And when I finished it, my footprint, when it came out, it was a shocker. I was qualified as an excellent communicator, but also as a bad communicator.
Wow.
And then my mentoring started. I think I've come over that problem. I was so badly knocked around.
Mm-hmm. And the next question is your go-to strategy to motivate a disengaged audience. I'm all ears.
My tendency to make a learning experience fun, because if you create anecdotes or you create some fun, then the memory remembers that longer than would be if you keep it very pensive, very serious all the time. So I tend to have a lot of humor in my conversations normally, and I bring that in the training room as well.
If you could train with any historical figure, who would it be? That's my last question.
Nelson Mandela
Ooh, can I ask you why?
or Kale.
Furqan, you've given us so much to think about. Now, to our team, let's wrap up this insightful journey and get ready to share or flash the messages that we've been getting from the audience. If you could just have 2 or 3 questions, because we only have 2 minutes left now, that would be
Yeah, go ahead.
great. If any questions not been answered. Sarah Ahmed is asking, your profile says you have mentored hundreds of people. What one real life story really touched your life?
I think the biggest challenge in mentorship, given my background in age and experience, is to put yourself in that person's shoes without making that person feel uncomfortable. It is a massive challenge. Not easy. Now you might have a question how do you do that, right?
No.
That's a long thing.
Do we have any more? Assalamu alaikum, Bilal Zain. Do we have more questions? Okay, so to our audience, thank you for joining us in this edition of Hold That Thought with me, Sarah Mashood. Thank you, Furqan, for giving us your time. Thank you, Hafsa,
Thank you for having
Atif,
me.
Ali, and Ayaz, for being my coolest support. You guys prepped and packed me well. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more unexpected moments, more thought challenges, and of course, a bit of humor. Until then, assalamu alaikum, stay curious, and goodbye.
Okay.
ऐसे क्यों बेचैन फिरे जागेंगे जरूर ये भाग तेरे कोई जानना ये जोश तेरा कोई जानना जुनून तेरा घूमता ना ताना ना 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 घूमता ना ताना ना घूमता ना ताना ना 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 घूमता ना ताना ना